channel cat. Getting ready to go under the new bridge.
We have to look over this way.
And that's not a building, it's actually a house. That's a single family residence there. I know it looks a little too big for that. But these residences were built in the 1870s for the higher ranking officials on the island. And, well, all of these homes are still used, all except for one. There's about 6 or 7 of them here on the island that they are using here yet today.
This is Arsenal Island. Rock Island, Arsenal Island.
Now, for those active military personnel, they have the choice to either live here on the island in some of the housing or put their name on the wait list until somebody moves out and they can move on. But quite a few of the active personnel actually choose to live off base. I can't imagine living where you work. That could get pretty tiresome, I would think. So quite a few of them do live just off base here. Now, this very large building here on our left, this is the largest of the residences. This is Quarters 1. And Quarters 1 is the second largest federally owned residence in the entire United States. Now, this is the one that's not being inhabited right now. It did need about $1 million worth of restoration that the Army didn't seem to find room for in their budget. But this served as the home for the highest ranking official on the island from 1871 all the way until the mid-2000s. Now it's up for lease, and nobody's been in there to lease it out yet. And actually, where they're having that event, there used to be an 18-hole golf course that was put up for lease, but unfortunately, with the flooding, nobody came on rail track and lower East and Westbound Highway. Now, what makes it so unique is it actually can spin 360 degrees all the way around. Now, many bridges that were built out here at that time could only spin 90 degrees one way and then have to spin that same 90 degrees back.
Talking about the government bridge there with the train.
Now, the bridge was here long before
across.
Lock 15. Lock and 15 is just up ahead of us here, right behind the bridge. Now, this lock chamber over to our left is 600 feet in length. Upper Mississippi River District that controls all 29 sets of locks and dams here on the Upper Mississippi River.
That building
Now, that clock
houses
is quite
an Army
large
Corps of
over there.
Engineers.
I believe it's 11 or 12 feet in diameter. But interestingly enough, if I would bet you that if it were
That's the
numbers
lock
or Roman
right there.
numerals, neither one of us would be right. It's actually stars and stripes on that
Government
clock
bridge.
there. They have stars every 3 hours and stripes in between. Folks dressed up in dresses and running around over there as part of that scavenger hunt thing, I think. But there's that square pillar there. That's all that's left from the very first railroad bridge that crossed the Mississippi River. It took them 3 years to build this, from 1853 to 1856. And it was operational for 10 whole days before the famous steam vessel, the Effie Afton, came traveling up through the bridge. Now the Effie Afton is what we call the side paddle wheeler. It had a paddle wheel on the outside of the boat, right in the center on each side. They were very easy to maneuver.
That's Davenport, Iowa.
As long as both the paddle wheels were working.
It kept going that way.
You got a half mile up through the bridge and lost power to one of those paddle wheels. Ended up coming back down with the current uncontrollably and crashed into the bridge, catching the boat on fire and the bridge on fire. Now, as you can imagine, this started quite the controversy as to who was liable for this loss. And this turned into a litigation that ran all the way up to the Supreme Court, where a young attorney by the name of Abraham Lincoln represented the railroad in this case. He argued that the bridge was not a hazard to navigation and was not impeding upon river traffic. Here, they had kind of an in since Antone's mother was part of the Sauk tribe. They were able to get in there and help trade. And they did quite well with this. They got into a few other business adventures. And, well, Antone was able to buy this strip of land as a result, bringing that first railroad bridge across.
There's a tugboat. The tan building in the background is the Hostess factory where Twinkies are made. Cape York, or no, Captain York. This one here.
Bless.
Yeah, the Hostess Twinkie factory.
Spot for the Davenport Sailing Club up ahead
That
of us
is
here.
East
They actually
Davenport.
host sailing lessons and regattas or races out here Wednesday evenings and Sunday afternoons. Looks like they've got a few people probably out already today, kind of enjoying the weather we're having here. Although it's not too breezy, maybe they're just going out and scouting where they're going to have their first little regatta or race. Normally they'll take and put in 2 or 3 turning buoys, and it's actually kind of a fun sight to see. We're lucky to have this here in the area for sure. But Davenport Sailing Club, just up ahead of us here on the left. Now, for those of you wondering how high the water was during the flood, if you would rewind back to May 2nd, crest. Today the river stage is 8.3. And on May 2nd, it was 22.7. So about 14 feet higher than what it is right now. All those tires that are holding those sailboats on the trailers there, all of those tires were wet. They were all wet. They didn't have to move the sailboats. It didn't get up quite that high to where they needed to actually move them, but the water was up to those tires on the trailers of the sailboats there. And in areas of River Drive down along the East Village of Davenport up ahead of us, the road was completely covered over by water.
I'll take one more Chardonnay on the 11th tab, and then I'm going to tab it out. I need one more Chardonnay, and then I'll take the 11th tab. Yes.
Now this home we're coming up to here on the left-hand side with the yellow pillars, this was the home of Charles Schuler. Now, most people don't know who he was, but I like pointing it out for the sheer fact he was one of the gentlemen that brought the small town of Davenport into a large commercial area. He was lucky. He married into a wealthy family that owned coal mines in over 4 different states. But he didn't stop there. He got involved in the lumber and construction industry here in Davenport. Well, he saw that up in Clinton, Iowa, in the mid-1800s, when he inhabited the area here, there was more than 13 millionaires in Clinton, Iowa, just from the lumber and construction industry. It was the fastest growing industry, creating the most millionaires per capita than anything else in the United States at that time. So he got his hands dirty and got in there in that lumber construction industry. And with all that money he made with that, he got involved here in banking locally. And that's what made him credited with being one of those gentlemen that was instrumental in the growth of the community of Davenport. Now, just up from his house here, this long brick building, this is actually Iowa American Water. You can see this little gray structure in the river walk. That actually is their inlet wall where they will pump 20 to 30 million gallons of water every single day through that they purify for clean drinking water for the Iowa side of the Quad City area. Iowa American Water here on our left.
So we're coming up on my wife's sister's house here. It's down this street, coming up where the bricks are. And it's the corner house on the left. We can see it maybe, catch a glimpse of it here for a second. Yes, the red brick one with the front white columns on it and the white on the back. That's Sally's sister Mary's house.